Workforce Success. It is 10:40 a.m. on July 20th, 2024, and I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Committee on Academic and Workforce Success. Please be aware that this meeting is being broadcast live via the internet. Members, when I call your name, please announce present. Emma Wolschlager, here. Daniel Wong.
Present.
Javed Anwar. Fred Farias. Stacy Hawk. And Ashley Thomas via Zoom.
Present.
Hi, Ashley. Luke
Hi.
Schwartz, student representative. Okay. Please record in the minutes that we have a quorum. Agenda item 2 is consideration and possible action to adopt the minutes for the April 24th, 2024 committee meeting. Do I have a motion to adopt the April 24th minutes on the Committee on Academic and Workforce Success?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Wong, a second?
Second.
A second by Ms. Hogg. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The motion passes. Agenda item 3 is public testimony on agenda items related to the Committee on Academic and Workforce Success. We do not have anyone registered to testify, so we'll go on to the next item. Agenda item 4 is consideration and possible action to adopt the consent calendar. The consent calendar includes non-controversial items that we think can be approved without comment or discussion. This allows us to save time for other items that need more of our attention. Highlighted items in gray are the consent agenda items. We're going to take up the consent calendar in 2 parts: approval of non-rule consent items and then the rule consent agenda items. Of course, any board member can request that an agenda item be added or removed from the consent calendar. The non-rule agenda items listed on consent for this meeting are Agenda Item 5A, consideration and possible action to adopt the recommendations related to the January 2024 annual compliance reports for institutions under a certificate of authorizations, names beginning with A through O. Agenda Item 5B, consideration and possible action to approve the 2024 Autism Grant Program Annual Progress Report. Agenda Item 5C, consideration and possible action to adopt the report on the effectiveness of the Open Educational Resource Grant Program, General Appropriations Act, House Bill 1, Article 3, Section 44, 88th Texas Legislature. Agenda Item 5F, report on activities of the 1, Certification Advisory Council, 3, Lower Division Academic Course Guide Manual Committee, 4, Texas Transfer Advisory Committee. Agenda Item 5G, consideration and possible action to appoint members to the Applied Texas Advisory Committee, Certification Advisory Council, Learning Technology Advisory Committee, Texas Transfer Advisory Committee. Members, are there any other agenda items that anyone would like to add to the consent calendar? Are there any agenda items anyone would like to remove from the consent calendar? Do I have an approval for the non-rule consent calendar?
So moved.
Ms. Hawk, in a second. Mr. Wong, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. The motion passes. Okay. Members, the next items on consent are the rule items. The rules placed on the consent calendar are those that are either technical, conforming, or implement non-controversial policies around which there is consensus. Agenda Item 5J, 1, consideration and possible action to adopt proposed amendments to board rules, Chapter 1, Subchapter T, Sections 1.220 to 1.223, 1.225, and 1.226, concerning the Workforce Education Course Manual, WECM Advisory Committee. Agenda Item 5J2, consideration and possible action to adopt proposed amendments to Board Rules, Chapter 2, Subchapter A, Sections 2.3, 2.5, 2.7, 2.8, and 2.9, concerning general provisions that set out the policies and procedures institutions must follow to make administrative requests related to academic planning, policy, and programs. This is a long one. Agenda Item 5J, 4, consideration and possible action to adopt proposed amendments to the board rules, Chapter 2, Subchapter C, Section 2.41, concerning the preliminary planning process for new degree programs. Agenda item 5J5, consideration and possible action to adopt proposed amendments to board rules, Chapter 2, Subchapter D, Section 2.58, concerning the approval process for new academic associate degree programs. Agenda item 5J6, consideration and possible action to adopt proposed amendments to board rules, Chapter 2, Subchapter E, Section 2.87, concerning the criteria for new baccalaureate programs at junior public colleges. Agenda item 5J7, consideration and possible action to adopt the proposed amendments to board rules, Chapter 2, Subchapter G, Sections 2.145 and 2.151, concerning the approval process for new doctoral and professional degree programs. Agenda 5J8, consideration and possible action to adopt proposed amendments to board rules, Chapter 2, Subchapter 1, Sections 2.181 and 2.182, concerning the review of existing degree programs at public universities and public health-related institutions. Agenda item 5J12, consideration and possible action to adopt new board rules, Chapter 2, Subchapter N, Sections 2.320 to 2.330, concerning the process for maintenance and approval of a career and technical education course in the Workforce Education Course Manual. Agenda 5J15, consideration and possible action to adopt proposed amendments to board rules, Chapter 4, Subchapter B, Sections 4.32, 4.33, and 4.35, concerning implementation of an alternative framework for field of study curricula. Agenda item 5J18, consideration and possible action to adopt new board rules, Chapter 10, Subchapter TT, Sections 10.910 to 10.917, concerning the Texas Working Off Campus, Reinforcing Knowledge and Skills Internship Program, or WORKS. Agenda item 5J19, consideration and possible action to repeal board rules, Chapter 21, Subchapter W, Sections 21.700 to 21.707, concerning the Texas Working Off Campus, Reinforcing Knowledge and Skills Internship Program, or WORKS. Are there any rules that anyone would like to remove from the rules consent calendar? Do I have a motion for approval of the rules consent calendar? Dr. Wong, do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Hall. Oh, okay. We'll get you on the next
Okay.
one.
Yes,
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Let me see here. Agenda items 5A through 5C were approved on consent. So moving on to agenda item 5D. This is the report on activities of the Family Practice Residency Advisory Committee, including the report on trusted funds distributed in the fiscal year 2024. Dr. Fred Onger, Family Practice Residency Advisory Committee Vice Chair, will present this item and be available to answer any questions. Welcome, Dr. Onger. Did I say that right?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for allowing me to present this agenda item to the committee and the board. Again, thank you very much for opportunity to be able to do this. I'm working here on behalf of Dr. Mike Reagan. Please excuse my West Texas accent. So if you have any questions, if I don't enunciate something quite right, just let me know so that I can repeat myself. Again, I'm from Texas Tech University in West Texas. For the new board members, I'd like to give you some background information on the work that we do with the Family Practice Advisory Committee. We are charged with funding recommendations to the board for the family practice residency programs and the related programs. So the Family Practice Residency Advisory Committee and the Family Practice Residency programs were established back in 1977 by the 65th Texas Legislature. And basically the intent was to increase the number of physicians selecting family practice as their medical specialty and to encourage physicians, especially to practice in rural Texas in general. So we have done a tremendous job over the years of placing doctors where they are needed. We've also done a tremendous job of making sure that every county in the state of Texas is impacted by the work that we do. And when we do that, we give access, improve access to physicians, to patients and populations of people to get healthcare where they're needed. So it's a tremendous job that we're doing. So the appropriations for the 2024-2025 biennium allowed for funding of 991 awards at the tune of $8,129 per resident. We have 34 family practice residency programs in the fiscal year, and additionally, $191,500 were allocated to support the rural and public health rotations. And these are all really highly, highly appreciated. So if we move forward, the Texas Education Coordinating Board provides trusteed funds for 34 nationally accredited family practice residency programs. And the funding recommendations are made to the board of the Texas Education Coordinating Board by the statutory 12-member Family Practice Residency Advisory Committee. To date, the family practice residency programs has provided funding support for more than 11,600 family practice residents. As you can see, that's a tremendous impact on access to healthcare for the state of Texas. For the 2024-2025 biennium, the Family Practice Residency Program received an appropriation of $8.25 million per fiscal year. This is an increase of 74% from the previous biennium, and we're very, very appreciative of that, and we hope that we keep that increase going to the previous historical values that we have had in the past. For the Family Practice Residency Advisory Committee's recommendations for funding, staff estimates that the fiscal year 2025 funding would be as follows. The appropriations, again, is $8.25 million, with that money supporting 975 residents to the tune of $8,250 per resident. The estimated operational grant is $8,044,000. There's 40 rural rotations at the tune of $2,500 each, and that comes to about $100,000. 3 public health rotations to the tune of $2,000 each, which is $6,000. And these really are just access, improving access not only to our patient populations, but one of the things that we have learned over the years is that if you expose them to those communities of people where they are needed, there's a very good likelihood that they may go back. So finding a kid out of Houston, for example, out of Dallas, coming to West Texas to go to medical school, and then after that we expose them to a rural community to do a rotation out there and fund that rotation, it really improves the chances of that doctor from Houston or from Dallas, from San Antonio, these big cities, ending up in those small town America where they're really much needed. And so it's a tremendous opportunity for us to, again, improve access for our patient populations out there. We also have the Faculty Development Center, which is in North Texas in Fort Worth, and we appropriated about $100,000 for that. So the total allocation, again, is $8.25 million. And that is my report. Again, our biggest program still stands John Peter Smith program in Fort Worth, which has a total of 72 residents. The other program that's pretty large right now is Texas Tech Odessa, which has 67 residents. And then, of course, UT San Antonio, 42. Our smallest programs are in UT Tyler, Pittsburgh, which is a small rural program with 6 residents, a very, very successful program and highly supported by their board. And then the other small programs are in HCA Medical Center, Medical City in Fort Worth, and also Baylor University Medical Center in Houston. So that concludes my report. For any granular information that you may need, I'm here to answer the question.
So Dr. Unger, I have a question.
Yes.
First of all, thank you for the work for the committee. It's obviously, would you agree that we have a shortage of family practice physicians in rural areas?
Absolutely. We have a tremendous shortage in the state of Texas and actually nationally. And one of the things that I can say about that is that family doctors, and being one, they're very impactful in those communities because you get the most bang for your buck when you get a family physician who's a highly trained, somebody like myself. I do everything ranging from obstetrics to surgical obstetrics. I do a lot of procedures, including, office-based orthopedics. I do vasectomies. I do laparoscopic procedures, colposcopy. All these procedures really, really needed in those communities, but
Right.
they just cannot afford to hire an obstetrician to do all of that, a pediatrician to do all the pediatric work, which I do, and all the procedures that are needed, colonoscopies, EGDs. And when you have a well-trained family physician in a good training program, they can
Right.
really impact those communities at a very, very cheap rate.
I think we all understand that and we appreciate that. But the
Yes.
fact is the state and the taxpayers have put a lot of money into these family practice residencies, and we still have a shortage. And this is an issue that legislature deals with every 2 years. So my question is, what can be done? Has the committee looked at how can we fulfill those needs? It's my understanding around 74% of the, and you're correct, the 74% of the residents that do residency training will stay around that area. But we still have a shortage. I mean, we revisit this, every year, it seems like. Do you or the committee have any recommendations on, other than just putting money into these residency programs, and how can we get these residents to actually go and stay and meet the needs of the state?
There are several tiers to that question. First is just the economics of medical education to begin with. When you have a tremendous or huge loan to pay back, you tend not to be attracted to those specialties that pay a little bit less. And so if you have the academic wherewithal to be able to get into orthopedics, into cardiology, and to all of that stuff, people end up in those areas that pay more because of the debt burden that they have and also the prestige that comes with that. So another tier you can really think about is just the fact that we have funding, but funding goes with people go where the money is. People tend to lean toward more prestigious, high-paying specialties instead of the low-paying primary care. And that impacts pediatrics, impacts general obstetrics, general surgery, and all that stuff. And so I think the cost of medical education is really one of the biggest drivers of this. If we could just lower down the cost of medical education where people don't have tremendous burden, or if you could give opportunities, people would choose primary care to pay less or have loan repayment that can actually impact their debt burden, I think it'll be easier for some of these kids who come to medical school to choose primary care.
Well, I
Not
think
just-
that's right. I mean, those are kind of things that we need to look at, I think,
Yes.
as a
Mhm.
society in the state of Texas, especially in the health professions.
Yeah.
And because of the cost.
Yeah.
Earlier we had a presentation on return on investment in terms of degrees.
Right.
Obviously, physicians and healthcare professionals, nursings, I mean, it's a good investment because they have jobs and good paying jobs.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that we need to look at creative ways, in my opinion, being a healthcare provider myself, on how to not only educate them, but how do we get people involved in family practice, which is so necessary for our state that continues to grow over 30 million now in the next 5 to 10 years continues to grow. And we have a shortage of family practice physicians, and specifically in rural areas. And so how do we incentivize, like some of those examples you mentioned, how do we do that as a profession, a community, to come together with policymakers and stakeholders on how we can address the issue? Because just by pouring money into it doesn't necessarily solve the issue, because this is an issue that's ongoing in a lot of healthcare professional areas. And so we need to come up with creative ways to incentivize, like you're suggesting, in order to be able to meet the needs and encourage students to be able to actually come through and practice medicine. And you're right. I understand the subspecialties and everyone wanting to do that, but it's also about passion and giving back, which I think a lot of students go to medical school for still. And it's just a matter of presenting that. So I think we need to look at ways, and I'm so sure that your committee, I know they look at the finance, but maybe look at also some incentives and ways to how do we become creative in terms of recruiting and making sure that students understand the significance of family practice and how the residency programs interact with the future of our state and healthcare system.
Yeah, you're right. I think we need to think about reimbursement. it doesn't make sense for a family physician to do a colposcopy procedure, for example, and get paid less than an obstetrician doing the same procedure. The codes are essentially the same. If I'm doing a vasectomy, I get paid less, but the third-party payers than if a urologist pays. That just drives the cost of healthcare, really, if you think about it.
Right.
But if you can level off the playing field, because, for example, I do obstetrics. I'm held to the same standards as the Academy of Obstetrics and Gynecology. I do pediatrics. I'm held to the same standards by the Academy of Pediatrics. I'm held to all those same standards. And so why should the reimbursement be different for the different specialties, for example?
Right.
And then, if people choose to go to these rural communities for where they're really, really needed, so a lot of these kids come from those rural communities. It's easier for them to be able to go back. Loan repayment or make medical education cheaper for them. I am really proud of the FMAT program, the Family Medicine Accelerated Track that we have at Texas Tech, which has really impacted what we are doing out there in West Texas. And to date, more than 50% of our doctors end up in rural Texas or populations of 5,000 or less. And that is because of the creative ways and the innovative ways that we have done medical education at Texas Tech. And I'm really proud of that because we're really putting doctors where they're needed.
Yeah, no, I'm
So-
very familiar with Texas Tech and your health sciences. They do you all do a great job.
Yeah,
I'm very familiar with. In fact, I'll be speaking to the Board of Regents in 2 weeks there at Texas Tech.
yeah.
And I know the health science system. So that's the kind of message I think we do need to look for the whole state in terms of best practices and what's going on in healthcare as we continue to grow as a state.
Thank you.
And maybe this is a place for Dr. Troutman to do some creative data manipulation to show us the impact of different programs, costs, time to degree, reimbursements. And I don't know if the data modernization initiative,
Can do that.
right?
Yeah. When he did his report, I was thinking about that healthcare specifically in terms of return on investment when he was talking about the different degrees, sociology, psychology, engineering, and then healthcare, because healthcare is one of our
Right.
biggest students' choices these days.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate
Absolutely.
you on the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mhm.
Any other questions on that? If not, we'll move on to agenda item 5E, which is consideration and possible action to adopt the Family Practice Residency Advisory Committee's recommendation relating to the distribution of funds trusteed to the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board to support family practice residency programs for fiscal year 2025. Dr. Fred Unger will present this item and be available to answer any questions. Elizabeth Mayer, Assistant Commissioner for Academic Affairs, will also be available for any questions.
Again, thank you very much for the opportunity. And the data speaks for itself, just like I talked earlier. I told you about it earlier. The total appropriations is $8.25 million. And the various areas that are benefiting from this, again, are the Faculty Development Center, a tremendous program that we have at UNT. And what it does is when we have some of these young doctors, one of the other challenges that we have in family medicine is getting attending physicians, getting people who can train these doctors to become, the people that need to be for the communities they're going to serve. Because of the many tiers and many caps that we wear, there's every family resident that comes through has a different need. Some are going back to the inner cities of the big cities of Texas, and some are going to really, really small towns. So they all have different needs. There's 2 family physicians or 3 family physicians practicing in the same office, practice completely different type of medicine. It just depends on the interest. And so the development center is a way of getting these guys to really get trained and be really good attending physicians and to be able to go back and provide the residents what they need based on their areas of interest. And so also the rural rotations are very, very important. Again, once you put them there, when they see it and they look at have an opportunity to practice with somebody working in a small rural community and the impact that they have in the community, serving in the different various areas of healthcare within the community and even the public health departments, we find that to be something that needs more funding, just so we can give these kids opportunities to go out there and really experience how it is to work in a small town. And so we have it at 2,500. It'll be nice to be able to have more opportunities for doctors to be able to do those rotations. And then, of course, public health. With a drive toward population health right now, it's very, very important that we always keep the money coming so that we can get opportunities for our doctors to participate in public health, which gives an opportunity in epidemiology and preventative medicine, and learning how to do that so that they can go back to their communities and impact those communities in a very positive area. Again, that really concludes, it's a summary of what I've talked about earlier, and that concludes my report. Any questions?
Do we have any questions? Okay, well, thank you very much. Do I have a motion to adopt the Family Practice Residency Advisory Committee's recommendation related to the distribution of funds trustee to the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board to support family practice residency programs for fiscal year 2025? Dr. Farias, do I have a second? Dr. Wong, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. The motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Agenda item 5F1 was approved on consent. Agenda item 5F2, the report on activities of the Learning Technology Advisory Committee. Mr. Patrick Plusht, Chair of the Learning Technology Advisory Committee, will provide a brief update of activities and be available to answer any questions. Members, this is for item is for information only.
Good morning, Chair Volslager, Vice Chair Wong, Commissioner Keller, and distinguished members of the committee. I'm Patrick Plush, Executive Director of Digital Growth at the University of North Texas. And as Chair of the Learning Technology Advisory Committee, LTAC, I'm pleased to present the annual report on committee activities. LTAC is a long-standing advisory committee that engages in substantive policy research and discussion regarding the role of learning technology, regarding the role that learning technology plays in Texas higher education. LTAC informs the coordinating board on how distance education and computer-assisted instruction, including e-learning tools such as electronic textbooks and open course materials, can help the state reach the goals of building a talent-strong Texas. LTAC consists of roughly 24 institutional representatives and has held 4 hybrid meetings since the last annual report. LTAC examined a variety of topics during the past year pertaining to distance education and learning technology, including process and documentation related to changes to the Texas Administrative Code that went into effect in December 2023. The new rules require regular assessment of distance education at institutions based on the standards and criteria listed in the Principles of Good Practice. Subcommittees of LTAC have worked to implement processes to review institutional plans for distance education, including documentation submission, review, and recommendations. LTAC has historically surveyed Texas institutions on distance education and learning technologies in order to understand the landscape of support provided to students. This year, LTAC launched a Texas AI activity landscape analysis with the aim of gaining a comprehensive understanding of the activities related to artificial intelligence in higher education in order to inform future resources, programs, and services at the state level. Findings from that survey have already begun to guide the strategic design of several initiatives that will facilitate collaboration between institutions, promote valuable sharing of experiences and resources, and leverage institutional expertise to strengthen community efforts across the state. For example, the AI subcommittee is comprised of LTAC members and recommended institutional experts to provide recommendations on state-level work focused on AI. Work streams include designing an adapting to innovation framework, gaining a better understanding of the pulse of artificial intelligence in Texas, creating a centralized digital presence, and building our AI and higher education community. Additionally, we are actively working to curate resources on artificial intelligence that will be openly available via the Open Educational Resources Repository, OER Texas, where resources will be housed in various collections, but which will also serve as a community building hub. LTAC has also been actively involved in planning several upcoming statewide events that will focus on artificial intelligence, including an AI convening in November of this year and the annual Digital Summit hosted by the Division of Digital Learning in February 2025. It's become apparent that Texas has emerged as a leader in AI efforts related to higher education, specifically with our programs, resources, and services, as well as notable achievements with community building and participation in national conferences and forums. LTAC, as a respected body with an established track record for being responsive, innovative, and incredibly collegial, has accelerated the state's ability to pivot productively and responsively in the AI arena. LTEC also provides recommendations to coordinating board staff on issues of digital learning practices at institutions, open educational resources, and lingering institutional issues relating to the COVID-19 pandemic. In closing, I'd like to recognize the incredible commitment and contributions of the many talented educators and leaders who have served or are serving on LTAC and the institutions who support them. This is important work. I also like to recognize the amazing team we have the privilege of working with in the Coordinating Board's Division of Digital Learning. Thank you for the opportunity to present this report. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do we have any questions? Great. Well, thank you very much for your service.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda items 5F3 and 5F4 were approved on consent. Agenda items 5G1 and through 4 were also approved on consent. Agenda item 5H are the requests for new degree programs. Members, representatives from each institution will be available to answer questions at tomorrow's quarterly board meeting. Removing the requirement for them to attend both committee and board meetings will reduce travel time and costs for the institutions. Agenda item 5H1 is consideration and possible action to approve the request from Texas State University for a Doctor of Business Administration in Business Administration. Elizabeth Mayer, Assistant Commissioner for Academic and Health Affairs, will present this item and be available to answer any questions.
Good morning, board members. My name is Elizabeth Mayer, and I serve as Assistant Commissioner for Academic and Health Affairs. As Ms. Walschlager indicated, we typically do not have folks come from our institutions, but Texas State is very committed. You'll see they have several programs here today, and so a number of them are behind me since they are so committed to these programs. So just wanted to
Welcome.
yes. Okay. So Texas State University is seeking approval to offer a Doctor of Business Administration degree program in business administration. That would begin in the fall of 2024. The proposed program would be offered online to students. Texas State offers 5 master's level programs in business. The existing MBA program, which is primarily a pipeline for the DBA, has seen steady enrollment over the most recent 5 years, averaging 220 students annually. The DBA degree is designed primarily for professionals to advance in leadership positions within their industry or to potentially transition to academia. The DBA program will be the least expensive in the state and can be completed in 3 years for $36,900. In addition, the McCoy College of Business is currently accredited by the Association to Advance Collegiate Schools of Business. Accreditation by the entity requires the McCoy College to maintain a high level of qualified faculty, including that 40% of its instruction be conducted by terminally qualified research active faculty. All business degrees within the McCoy College of Business are included in the scope of the accreditation. The only category of business jobs requiring a doctoral degree for entry, according to the BLS, is business teachers post-secondary. Labor market data from the BLS and the Texas Workforce Commission show growth for business faculty positions throughout the next decade. The institution plans to hire 2 tenure-track faculty members in year 1, 1 tenure-track faculty member each in years 2, 3, 4, and 1 non-tenured faculty member in year 4, and 1 non-tenured faculty member in year 5. All faculty new hires are planned to be dedicated to the DBA program. And that concludes my remarks for this program.
Do we have any questions? Yeah.
Yes.
This program forward. I had the opportunity to visit your campus recently and had a great visit, and you have a great president there and great work being done at the McCoy Business School. So thank you, and really look forward to seeing the outcome of this new program.
Just have a question. You mentioned about this program is all online, 100% online, or? Okay, so.
This program is, yes.
So will that be any, in terms of, there's no face-to-face interaction with the student or
I'm gonna
faculty?
see if somebody from the. You. You can better answer it, so. It's okay.
Good morning. My name is Thilaso Kumar, and I serve as the Texas State Global VP. The theoretical classes will be all asynchronous, but the research and the dissertation will have a face-to-face component, but will be done through Zoom, or they could come to campus. So once they move past the theoretical classes, then they'll have the one-on-one meetings with the committee members of their dissertation moving forward.
So if they are international student, like student in our country, that they may have to travel to your campus to do the research, or
No, they could do
they can do the
research.
Zoom and then they can.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So it's very flexible. So if you live in West Texas or if you live in North Texas, you don't have to drive to San Marcos
drive
to
to
do and that'll save costs because most of the people that we're targeting are working full-time. And so this will help them achieve their DBA without actually having to travel somewhere.
So your program is global. So you foresee there's any student from our country or?
One day I would like to, but right now it's focused on Texas.
Focused on
but-
Texas. Oh,
But
wonderful.
eventually,
All right.
word of mouth, I hope to grow it to a global program since my unit is called Texas State Global. That'll
That's
be a
it, yeah.
nice,
Yes,
nice
that's
thing
why
to
I heard
have.
that is a global program, but that's for serving Texas. Texas is just like a whole world, so it's okay.
Yes, I mean, it's
All
the
right.
8th largest economy,
deal.
right? So,
Absolutely.
but yeah, that's why we made it completely online because it gives people flexibility because we saw the programs in the state either required a weekend or a residency part. So we wanted to have that unique feature that allowed full-time people working to have this
Sure.
opportunity.
Fantastic. Thank you.
I think Dr. Wong just came up with a new tagline for Texas. Texas is a whole world. Yeah.
I like that you kept the tuition at a good rate. I think that's going to be very attractive to a lot of students. And you'll be able to provide access for those that are working and can really make a difference in terms of their future and what their goals are. So thank you.
Okay, great. Any other questions? If not, do I have a motion to approve the request from Texas State University for a Doctor of Business Administration in Business Administration? Dr. Wong, a second by Dr. Farias. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, say no. The motion passes. Great. Thank you very much. Agenda item 5H2 is consideration and possible action to approve the request from Texas State University for a Doctor of Philosophy in Construction Management. Elizabeth Mayer will present this item and be available to answer any questions.
Texas State University is seeking approval to offer a Doctor of Philosophy degree program in construction management that would begin in the fall of 2025. The proposed program would be offered online and would emphasize data-driven decision-making, commercialization, and sustainability. Students would learn skills in intercultural communication, interdisciplinary understanding, research design, grant writing, project management, ethics, and professional conduct, methods of data collection, and use of theory in the interpretation of data. The online format is designed to help early career professionals advance by completing their doctoral degrees, and it would be the first online construction management PhD program in Texas. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, 8,200 new jobs in architectural and engineering managers are expected from 2022 through 32, with an average 13,600 openings, including replacement positions expected each year. The growth rate is 4%, above as fast as the average for all occupations. The Texas Workforce Commission anticipates 2,636 new jobs from 2020 to 2030, which averages 263 new jobs per year. In accordance with the institution's proposed hiring schedule, the institution will hire 5 new core faculty members, 2 in the first year, 1 in the second year, 1 in the third year, and 1 in the fourth year. And that concludes my remarks for this program.
Do we have any questions?
I do. So this program mainly is focused on training professional, not really the faculty track program, right? So it's not a lot of research. It's just being able to have a PhD, to do the construction management that's what they're trying to do.
That is my understanding, but this gentleman will probably provide more clarity.
Thank you. I'm James Wild. I'm the Department Chair of Engineering Technology at Texas State University. To answer your question, yes, the focus is working professionals and training them in the advances in technology and thinking skills and creative skills. When we're hiring faculty, we like to see PhDs with construction managers with PhDs that have industry experience, but then want to come back to the university.
Mm-hmm.
So the focus is the industry and working professionals with the idea that they might someday want to go back and teach.
Correct. So the faculty actually teaching these courses probably is from engineering and technology, and
Yes.
so it's combined effort of training this program.
Yes.
All right. So I think in the future, probably it will be really, if you have this PhD program, so you will have a faculty really have a PhD in construction management, teaching construction management in the future. I think that will be, there's training that way, but not right now, it's not there yet.
No, but what we would like to see is construction managers with PhD in this area that have 5 or 10 or 20 years of experience that want to come back and share that knowledge
All right. Yeah.
with the credentials and the teaching abilities.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Chair, I have a question. I see both for this and the last doctoral program, it says that it requires 54 course hours beyond master's. Am I interpreting that correctly? To suggest about 18 classes?
Yes.
Yes.
Just confirming that's the coursework that I was seeing. And then of course the dissertation. So the expectation is that students would take, being full-time, how long would you anticipate it taking students to complete this program?
Probably also 3 years, like the business administration doctoral program. But it's of the 54 credits, it's classes plus the dissertation, or the dissertation is included in that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That seems more tenable.
Hey, any more questions? If not, do I have a motion to approve the request from Texas State University for a Doctor of Philosophy in Construction Management? Dr. Wong, do I have a second? By Ms. Hawk? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed say no. The motion passes. Thank you. Yes. Agenda item 5H3 is consideration and possible action to approve the request from Texas State University for a Doctor of Philosophy in Engineering Management. Elizabeth Mayer will present this item and be available to answer any questions.
Texas State University is seeking approval to offer a Doctor of Philosophy degree program in engineering management that would begin in the fall of 2025. The proposed program would be offered fully online. The online format is designed to help early career professionals advance by completing their doctoral degrees, and it would be the first online engineering management PhD program in Texas. There is a strong job demand for engineering managers, as I mentioned in the prior item. In accordance with the institution's proposed hiring schedule, the institution will hire 5 new core faculty members, 2 in the first year and 1 each in years 2, 3, and 4. And that concludes my remarks on this program.
Do we have any questions? Not for this one? Okay, do I?
Since he's here, I want to ask the questions. He's staying here just to answer questions. So we need to answer, we need to ask questions. I'm interested though, actually, I'm sure that these two programs, construction management and engineering management, is very, well, they have some overlapping, that's for sure, but also very distinguished on construction side and also particularly in engineering. So
Yes.
will they be more like probably some overlapping classes in these two programs that
Not very many, because
manage?
really the engineering management is focused more on industrial engineering, manufacturing, and managing engineers rather than managing the construction project.
So more industrial engineering type. Okay,
Yes.
got it. Yeah, that's very clear. Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
So, and I have a general comment or question, Madam Chair, if I may, for the speaker, and maybe for any others that are department chairs. How difficult is it these days for programs like this to have and hire faculty that are specific to these areas?
Well, I can give an example of just this past year. We, for our online master's programs, both in construction management and engineering management, we had 4 positions open and we were able to fill 3. And we're re-advertising the 4th one this coming year. It has been difficult in getting people that are construction managers and engineers that are more interested in the management side. We find a lot of people that are interested in applying for faculty positions that are technical, and but we do find some, and we have found some that are interested in teaching and in research on the management side of those areas.
But not only finding them, but do you feel that there's competitive applicants, or in terms of the numbers for competitive spots?
Oh, yes. Yes, they are. And for construction management, for example, the 2 that we had advertised, we looked around nationally and there were 100 faculty positions advertised for those types of positions. And so we feel lucky that we got 2 that we feel are very good, that are starting this fall.
Thank you.
Actually, my question is more the student. As a matter of fact, you feel very comfortable that we have enough students to go to that program in PhD? Always graduate school, we have hard time
Yes.
attract students.
We, for the on-site review that we had last month, we asked, we sent an announcement out to the alumni and current students asking if anybody would be interested in this program. And within a couple of days, we had 100 responses.
Wow. All right.
And they all said that they would like to participate. We only chose 15 to participate in the site review, but they all said they'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Do I have a motion to approve the request from Texas State University for a Doctor of Philosophy in Engineering Management? Dr. Wong, do I have a second? Dr. Farias, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Thank you very much. Okay. Agenda item 5H4 is consideration and possible action to approve the request from Texas State University for a Doctor of Philosophy in Mathematics. Elizabeth Mayer will present this item and be available to answer any questions.
Texas State University is seeking approval to offer a Doctor of Philosophy degree program in mathematics that would begin in the fall of 2025. The program would be offered in person to students in San Marcos. The program would make itself distinct by incorporating training for 2 categories of students: those who want academic careers and those who want industry careers, in 3 different tracks: pure mathematics, applied mathematics, and mathematics education. I do want to point out in the material, there was an error, and that first year annual earnings should be listed at 69,000, not 49. But just to be clear, there is strong demand for mathematical science occupations. Nationwide, mathematics job opportunities are expected to grow 29%, and statistician positions are expected to grow 32% from 2022 to 2032. This is faster than the average for all occupations, with about 3,500 combined average openings per year. In Texas, the growth rate is even stronger, whereas the Bureau of Labor Statistics projects a 35% national growth rate for data scientists. The Texas Workforce Commission actually projects a 49.5% growth rate for Texas. There's a similar trend for statisticians. The BLS growth rate is 32%, and Texas, it's 52%. In accordance with the institution's proposed hiring schedule, the institution will hire 4 new core faculty members, 1 each in years 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that concludes my remarks on this.
Do we have any questions on the mathematics?
One comment. I'm excited to see this program, and I'm thrilled by the delineation between the 2 options. And just to comment that I'm a huge fan of the MathWorks program that you have on your campus for middle schoolers and high schoolers. And I love the idea of the school becoming a beacon for mathematics in the graduate program as well.
Well, it seems like all these PhD programs coming are an important tactical piece of some overall strategy that I hope is going well for you all. Any other questions or comments? If not, do I have a motion to approve the request from Texas State University for a Doctor of Philosophy in Mathematics?
So moved.
Ms. Hawk, do I have a second? Dr. Wong, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Thank you all very much for coming. Okay, agenda item 5H5 is consideration and possible action to approve the request from Texas State University for a Doctor of Philosophy in Mechanical and Manufacturing Engineering. Elizabeth Mayer will present this item and be available to answer any questions.
Texas State University is seeking approval to offer a Doctor of Philosophy degree program in Mechanical and Manufacturing Engineering that would begin in the fall of 2024. The proposed program would be offered face-to-face on the San Marcos campus. The proposed program would require 55 semester credit hours for students entering with a master's degree and 79 semester credit hours for students entering with a bachelor's degree. The proposed program would aim to be distinct in two aspects: a focus on disruptive technologies blended with the conventional doctoral level engineering curriculum, and then a focus on commercialization, entrepreneurship, and innovation. The disruptive technologies are defined as artificial intelligence, advanced robotics, cybersecurity, additive manufacturing, digital twin, and then cyber physical systems, augmented and virtual reality, and data analytics. The Bureau of Labor Statistics predicts the national demand from 2022 to 2032 to grow 10% for mechanical engineers, much faster than the average for all occupations. In May of 2023, Texas has ranked as the third largest employer of mechanical engineers with an average annual mean salary of $122,000. Similar to the Texas Workforce Commission, they also anticipate a demand from 2020 to 2030 for mechanical engineers to grow 19%. Additional core faculty hires are not planned within the first 5 years for this program. And that concludes my remarks.
Okay, do we have any questions?
Far in advance to the program for the new board members too, as well as me. The proposals have to come in for the board members.
So based on statute, we have a year from when the agency staff receives the proposal to have it come. Otherwise, it's automatically approved. But through that process, we have a pretty rigorous process. So the proposal is submitted. They have to submit a planning notification. And then after that, when we receive the full proposal, we actually do a desk review. So we have somebody who is not from the state of Texas, who is at an institution with a highly ranked program, review and do a desk review. And then we go through a site visit process where we have 3 external reviewers from outside the state in a highly ranked program review the program. And then they do typically an all-day site visit, and then they provide feedback to the program. And then the program may make adjustments based upon the feedback of those faculty members from the highly ranked program.
So I like detail, right?
Yes, sir.
So some people might notice this is a quick turnaround.
Yes.
You said they're starting in the fall of 2024. Can you give background on that?
So I think, we received it and I think we received these in October. We received several of them from Texas State. So based upon that 1-year requirement, we had to make sure we got that done. Or maybe it was August 31st. That's when we received it. So based upon that timeline, that would mean that it would need to come to the July board meeting.
Also, one quick question or comment. I'm very fascinated by the evolution of this program, mechanical engineering and manufacturing engineering right now. So is it kind of like commonly agreed upon in terms of the scope? Because, for example, if I join this program, it's not a traditional mechanical engineering PhD program, very obvious. It's a lot of other components. So add on, and it's been evolving. I'm sure that the industry and the academic is also, have the common agreement about this area will be, included into this program. So if I graduate as a PhD in this program, will I be able to be recognized by other institutions, trying to apply for a faculty position in some other school? Will I be recognized as a traditional mechanical engineering plus a scope that everybody agree upon? I mean, just want to know. It's very fascinating seeing. Right now, a lot of program coming into our board as a lot of added component.
I'm Pranesh Ashwath. I'm the provost at Texas State. And thank you for the question. I'm also a mechanical engineer by training. And I think your question is a good one because historically, mechanical engineering, civil engineering are old engineering sciences and are very traditional in the way they structure them. But today, the market demands us to be very innovative in the way we put together programs meeting the needs, which are very multidisciplinary. Some of the core functions of a mechanical engineering degree will still be taught. There will be some core things that every student will have to have background in. But more importantly, the way we are approaching this, considering the fact that we also started a new undergraduate program in mechanical engineering, it's very rare that an institution has an opportunity to start from scratch. And so we decided to build this program with the latest technologies being brought in so that our students who are coming in will not only get the fundamentals, which are essential to be a mechanical engineer or a civil engineer, but also be trained in the latest emerging technologies that are interdisciplinary within the graduate level. So students who graduate with a PhD in mechanical engineering not only will have the core knowledge in things like fluid mechanics, solid mechanics, and other disciplines, but also will be able to be conversant in the emerging technologies like advanced robotics, mechatronics, as additive manufacturing, and so forth. The research component could obviously be in any one of these areas, but you can't be an additive manufacturing specialist without understanding fluid flow, patterning, design, and so forth. So those fundamental things are still part of the curriculum, but you're specializing in areas which are emerging technologies and have great potential for the future. So I think the way I would look at it is you still have a mechanical engineering fundamental degree. You can still teach if you go teach an undergraduate degree program, you can still teach anything in mechanical engineering, but you're working in research in the cutting edge, which is interdisciplinary across mechanical and potentially other fields like design, electrical, and other fields as well.
So we'll wait until we see in the future how the market dictate in terms of
Yes.
how the program goes. For example, even with the licensing, you have a mechanical engineering license. Right now, we don't have a manufacturing license.
Correct.
So let's see how the market evolves, and then you are kind of leading the way with a PhD in mechanical and manufacturing engineering, and see how this market evolves. And
yeah, the proof will be in the pudding, of course, but when we start hiring faculty, normally we say we want to hire a faculty in mechanical engineering with a specialization in this X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm seeing in the marketplace is that now that all of these technologies are emerging, many of these ads are actually calling for a degree in mechanical, but with a specialization in robotics or AI and so forth. So we are actually jumping the gun in making those things available for these students as they go through the doctoral program.
Yeah.
And we have interdisciplinary faculty because we have a school of engineering and we have very close relationships between mechanical, computer science, electrical engineering. We have still not yet built the departments. They're all faculty within the School of Engineering. There's a lot of interdisciplinary opportunities for students to work across multiple departments as well.
Yeah, I can see it's really going that way, but I can talk a whole hour, but let's.
I'll tell you, Dr. Wang and the provost, and thank you for hosting me. And I took a tour. I was there for a day, and they are forward thinking. The technology, the manufacturing, and the tour that I had there was fantastic. So y'all are doing a great job, and thank you for bringing programs like this to the coordinating board.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So based on that, do I have a motion to approve the request from Texas State University for a Doctor of Philosophy in Mechanical and Manufacturing Engineering? So Dr. Wang and Dr. Farias. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Thank you all very much. Agenda item 5H6 is consideration and possible action to approve the request from the University of Texas Health Sciences Center at Tyler for a Doctor of Philosophy in Integrated Biomedical Sciences. Elizabeth Mayer will present this item and be available to answer any questions.
The University of Texas Health Science Center at Tyler is seeking approval to offer a Doctor of Philosophy degree program in Integrated Biomedical Sciences that would begin in the fall of 2024. The proposed program would be offered in person to students in Tyler. The proposed program will rely on existing faculty expertise and resources from the University's Center for Biomedical Research. If approved, the program will be the first doctorate in biomedical sciences in East Texas. A 2020 report published by the Governor's Office on the state's biotechnology industry notes Texas is home to over 4,000 biotechnology and life science research companies. The report illustrates the state's position as a hub for biological, biomedical, and related science. Data from the Texas Workforce Commission supports this position, showing above average growth for careers in biomedical science through 2030. And excuse me. In accordance with the institution's proposed hiring schedule, the institution will hire one core faculty member to start in the fall of 24, one core faculty member to start in the fall of 25, and then one core faculty member to start in the fall of 2027. And that concludes my remarks on this program.
Do we have any questions for Ms. Mayer? Okay. Then do I have a motion to approve the request from the University of Texas Health Sciences Center at Tyler for a Doctor of Philosophy in Integrated Biomedical Sciences? Dr. Wong, and a second by, oh, yes. Tyler.
Second year, starting second year medical student there.
Awesome.
I'll second.
Okay, Dr. Fadi, yes. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Agenda item 5I is lunch. So I think we'll take a break the committee will now break for lunch. No public business or public policy over which this board has supervision or control will be discussed. We intend to reconvene at 30 minutes, like at 12:15. Great. Thank you. item 5J. They are the proposed rules. Agenda items 5J1 and 2 were approved on consent. Agenda item 5J3 is the consideration and possible action to adopt proposed amendments to Board Rules, Chapter 2, Subchapter B, Section 2.32, concerning the approval process for new certificate programs. Ms. Elizabeth Mayer will present this item and be available to answer questions.
The Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board proposes adoption of amendments to Texas Administrative Code, Title 19, Part 1, Chapter 2, Subchapter B, Rule 2.32, regarding notification regarding a certificate program. The Education Code, Section 61.0512A, requires the coordinating board to approve all new certificate programs before an institution of higher education may offer the program. This rule is basically just removing the need to collect what we call the Classification of Instructional Programs, or CIP code, from the specific course, and it's only really needed for the program. So it's just really just like a cleanup clarification.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Ms. Mayer? If not, can I have a motion to adopt proposed amendments to Board Rules Chapter 2, Subchapter B, Section 2.32, concerning the approval process for new certificate programs? A motion by Ms. Hawk, second by Dr. Wong. I'm sorry, was that Ms. Thomas? We haven't had her on the record yet, so let's.
Yes, sorry.
Great.
Thank
There's
you.
a little lag, but all right, thank you. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Agenda items 5J 4 through 8 were approved on consent. Agenda item 5J9 is consideration and possible action to adopt new Board Rules, Chapter 2, Subchapter K, Sections 2.230 to 2.241, concerning the approval process for new Applied Associate's Degree programs. Elizabeth Mayer will present this item and is available to answer questions.
The Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board proposes adoption of Texas Administrative Code, Title 19, Part 1, Chapter 2, Subchapter K, Sections 2.230 through 2.241, concerning the approval process for an applied associate degree program. So the new rules are designed to replace the existing rules that are in Chapter 9, which will be submitted for repeal at a later board meeting. The new subchapter ensures requests for new applied associate degree programs are held to the same criteria and standards as all other degree programs proposed by Texas public institutions. These rules also align with the community college financing rules. As with other degree program types, the applied associate requires the submission of planning notification, and it also includes the approval of the applied associate degree by the assistant commissioner. These rules were published in the Texas Register on May 10th, and there were no comments received for these rules. And that concludes my remarks.
Great. Do I have a motion to, any questions? Okay. Do I have a motion to adopt the new Board Rules, Chapter 2, Subchapter K, Sections 2.230 to 2.241, concerning the approval process for new Applied Associate's Degree programs? Could I have a motion? By Dr. Farias. And a second? By
Second.
Dr. Wong. Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Agenda item 5J10 is consideration and possible action to adopt new Board Rules, Chapter 2, Subchapter L, Sections 2.260 to 2.268, concerning career and technical education certificate approval. Lee Rector, Associate Commissioner for Workforce Education, will present this item and be available to answer questions.
Thank you, Madam
Welcome.
Chair. Members, good afternoon. This item does pertain to approval of career and technical education certificates. And before I go into this item, I'd just like to inform you of a really significant stakeholder engagement that happened preceding this rule, the local need that you'll hear about, the two that you did on consent agenda, as well as the applied associate that Elizabeth just went through. So in January of this year, we convened a stakeholder group of 16 leaders from community and technical colleges across the state to work with staff as we went through the drafting of the rules, to provide feedback on those drafts, and then ultimately to take that feedback into consideration in internal policy discussions prior to finalizing the rule. So I wanted to let you all know that. The field is aware of this, and we have, because of that work group, some ambassadors for the coordinating board who are helping to promulgate word of the new rules. So with that, back to this agenda item. So with regard to career and technical education certificates, this agenda item really lays out the process for approval, particularly to institutions regarding not only the process, but the categories of certificates. And this is significantly different from what it has been in the past. And so I'm going to take just a little bit of time to go through some specifics with you. So the definition for certificate has been kind of taken up to Texas Education Code, which is other and larger than and broader than what were the certificates levels 1 and 2 that you're used to hearing about. So the rule defines the type of certificates that institutions may offer, and specifically the characteristics of each of those. So this includes a number of certificates that institutions have been offering for a very long time and that you've heard about, including certificate level 1, certificate level 2, advanced certificate, advanced technical certificate, enhanced skills certificate, the occupational skills award, and continuing education certificate. What is new in this rule is the inclusion of the institutional credentials leading to licensure certification, the ICLCs, which we know are a part of the new community college funding model, as well as the third-party credentials. So those have come into rule. Some of the other ones that have been promulgated by colleges in the past are now being defined in rule under approval for first time. And so in essence, this aligns the approval processes with those in Chapter 2 that Elizabeth mentioned for coordinating board approval of programs, as well as the community college finance model itself and the credentials of value under that model. So clarity is provided on two things in terms of approval. First, the criteria and process requirements that an institution must meet when seeking approval for a new or revised certificate. And second, on the board's internal process itself, including criteria, timeline, and opportunity for an institution to appeal a decision. And then finally, the rule contains a clause requiring institutions to notify the coordinating board when or if they're going to close down a program so that they can make sure that there is a phase-out process and students are not disadvantaged. That concludes my comments. I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you for that explanation. Any questions? Okay, do I have a motion to adopt new board rules, Chapter 2, Subchapter L, Sections 2.260 to 2.268 concerning career and technical education certificate approval?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Hawk, second by Dr. Wong. Thank you. All in favor say aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? The motion passes. Agenda item 5J11 is consideration and possible action to adopt new board rules, Chapter 2, Subchapter M, Sections 2.290 to 2.297 concerning career and technical education local need course approval. Lee Rector will present this item and be available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is another piece that we're doing to try and ensure that the rules broadly reflect the approval that are required for career and technical education programs and courses that comprise them. So this is about the establishment of a new subchapter regarding the approval of local need courses. And specifically, this rule lays out, I think, the process for the approval as well as the addition of those courses to the Workforce Education Course Manual, or what is typically called WECM as the acronym. And so these new rules are being laid out for adoption. And in essence, this is about a process that by which a new course is created and approved to address a workforce need where there is not a course that exists to address that need. So it's a critical piece in program building for career and technical education. So the rule defines a local need course as a course that is not contained in the WECM, that inventory of courses that I just noted, and for which approval is being sought by an institution for a highly specific workforce need in their region. So it outlines the requirements, the criteria for submission of the local need course for consideration for approval. And upon approval, that course then goes into the WECM inventory of courses where it resides within that institution's program. And over time, there is a process which you approved in the consent agenda that takes that into a full-blown workforce program or course, given widespread need across the state. And finally, as I mentioned, this brings full circle to Corning Board rules with Chapter 2 for approvals. Those are my comments. Happy to answer questions.
Any questions? Okay, can I have a motion to adopt new board rules, Chapter 2, Subchapter M, Sections 2.290 to 2.297 concerning career and technical education local need course approval?
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Wong. Second by Dr. Farias. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Agenda item 5J12 was approved on consent. Agenda items 5J13 and 5J14 were withdrawn from the agenda. Agenda item 5J15 was approved on consent. Agenda item 5J16 is consideration and possible action to adopt new board rules, Chapter 10, Subchapter D, Sections 10.90 to 10.98 concerning administration of the Rural Resident Physician Grant Program. Members, you have supplemental material for this item printed on goldenrod paper. Elizabeth Mayer will present this item and be available to answer questions.
The Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board proposes adoption of new rules in Title 19, Part 1, Chapter 10, Subchapter D, 10.90, 10.92 through 10.94, and 10.96 through 10.98 concerning the administration of the Rural Residency Physician Grant Program. So this program actually received an appropriation for the first time during this last legislative session, although it was established by House Bill 1065 during the 86th Texas legislature. The coordinating board used negotiated rulemaking to develop these adopted rules. The Rural Resident Physician Grant Program is intended to provide grants for the establishment or expansion of graduate medical education programs or positions in rural and non-metropolitan areas to help meet the healthcare needs of rural communities in the state of Texas. The rules outline the application, evaluation process, reporting, and other requirements for eligible entities to receive funding for the grant program. And in addition to the negotiated rulemaking, we also received some comments about these rules, and where appropriate, we integrated those recommended changes. As always, we appreciate any kind of feedback we receive from the field and our institutions, because we always know that it will improve our role. And that concludes my remarks for this item.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, do I have a motion to adopt new board rules, Chapter 10, Subchapter D, Sections 10.90 to 10.98 concerning administration of the Rural Resident Physician Grant Program? Dr. Farias, and a second by Ms. Hawk. Great, thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Agenda item 5J17 is consideration and possible action to adopt new board rules, Chapter 10, Subchapter E, Sections 10.110 to 10.117 concerning the administration of the Professional Nursing Shortage Reduction Grant Program. Members, you also have supplemental material for this item printed on goldenrod paper. Elizabeth Mayer will present this item and be available to answer any questions you may have.
The Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board proposes adoption of new rules in Title 19, Part 1, Chapter 10, Subchapter E, 110, 10.111 Professional Nursing Shortage Reduction Program. Specifically, the proposed rules will replace the existing rules currently in Chapter 22, Subchapter S, which will be repealed in a future rulemaking. The adopted rules clarify grant award requirements based upon the statute. The coordinating board used negotiated rulemaking to develop these proposed rules as well. The Professional Nursing Shortage Reduction Program, or NSRP, provides grants to eligible entities to meet the needs of the state of Texas for initially licensed registered nurses. This program was actually established in 2001. So really, this is just an opportunity for us to kind of clean up the rules to make sure we're aligning with statute. In addition to the negotiated rulemaking, we also received comments and where appropriate, integrated those recommended changes. And as I stated before, always appreciate the comments from the field because it always improves our rules. And that concludes my remarks for this.
So I just have a quick technical question. A couple times you mentioned that the existing rule will
Repealed.
repealed
Yes.
later.
Yes.
So do we have a period of time where both are in effect?
Yes, for a short period of time. I can't remember. I think this one is slated for either October or January. So it'll be like a really,
But it doesn't matter. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, just wondering.
yes.
Do we have a motion to adopt new board rules, Chapter 10, Subchapter E, Sections 10.110 to 10.117 concerning administration of the Professional Nursing Shortage Reduction Grant Program? We need a motion by Ms. Hawk and a second by Dr. Farias. Thank you all very much. All in favor, say aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? The motion passes. Agenda items 5J 18 and 19 were approved on consent. Agenda item 5J20 is consideration and possible action to adopt proposed amendments to board rules, Chapter 22, Subchapter N, Section 22.288, concerning the Texas Leadership Scholars Program. Dr. Janelle Strother, Assistant Commissioner for Student Success, will present this item and be available to answer questions. Dr. Strother, thank you.
Good afternoon, members. As you recall, the Texas Leadership Program is a scholarship for our high-achieving low-income students, where they receive 100% tuition and fees and a housing and food stipend. They also receive leadership opportunities and mentorship opportunities. The rule amendments for your consideration today are to adopt amendments to Chapter 22, Subchapter N, specifically Rule 22.288, which outlines eligibility requirements that students must meet to be selected as a scholar. The amended section clarifies that 1, a student must apply for financial aid every year. And 2, if a student no longer qualifies through the financial need criteria, a student may remain in the program. An institution shall make an effort to cover the student's tuition and fees, but is not required to do so. We did not receive any comments during the 30-day public comment period, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions on this one? If not, do I have a motion to adopt proposed amendments to board rules, Chapter 22, Subchapter N, Section 22.288, concerning the Texas Leadership Scholars Program? Dr. Farias, in a second. Right, Ms. Hawk, great, thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Agenda item 6 is adjournment of this committee. If there's no further discussion, may I have a motion? Thank you, Dr. Wong. Second by Ms. Hawk. All in favor? The motion passes. We will now take a short break to allow staff to set up for the Agency Operations Committee meeting. The next meeting will begin shortly.